So, Unit 1, Day 5. And this one's a big deal. It's kind of like the stepping stone to helping you understand whenever you get to, like, don't play right now. Whenever you start to get into more complex problems, like word problems, problems that you'll see whenever you get into high school, problems that you're going to see whenever you take standardized tests for the state, problems you're going to see on the ACT, problems you can see on the SAT. So this is like the first step to understanding how to solve those problems. So it's translating words into mathematical symbols. So being able to read words and know, okay, this is the type of operation that I need to do. So we're going to start with the real simple ones. So we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and equal. These are all things that can be used to make a mathematical phrase. Now, a mathematical phrase does not involve equal. Now, a mathematical sentence does involve equal. So for addition, you have things like sum, more than, plus, increased by, and then subtraction would be like a difference to minus, to decrease by, or less than. A product, or multiplication would be like a product times multiplied. Sometimes it could also be, and I had it right here, but I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like if you said a number of, and we'll do an example of like, when you're dealing with multiplication of fractions, you always say, oh, 3/4 of is multiplication with fractions. And then division, I put number of for this because sometimes your fractions can also be written as divisions, which I know does not make sense that it can be multiplication and division, but I'll try my best to make it to where you can understand that. Quotient, this is the biggest one. They like the word quotient, and divided by. Equal, of course, you have is. Is can also mean it equals, and then the word equal. Other things we're going to deal with is your inequalities like less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. But we've already discussed these, and they'll just be exactly what they're saying. When you type these in on your homework, say you have a sentence to type in, and if you do not have these easy to get a hold of, like I have to go into Word to get them, you can just type them in your assignment like less than or equal to, like that, in the computer, and put it in parentheses just like I have it. I think you only have one problem like that on your assignment, so there's not that many. All right, so let's go ahead and start practicing. Here we go. Translating phrases, and let X represent the number. It will say a number of some kind, and let X represent that number. So our first example says 11. So what I like to do is okay, identify a number more than. That's going to tell us what type of symbol we're using. And then we already know that our number is X. So more than, we're going to increase, means to do addition. So if I rewrite this phrase, I would write, okay, 11 more than a number. So you have your number, and we're going to add 11 to it to make it more. So 11 more than a number. And I know you'd think, okay, why can't you do 11 plus X? Technically you can, because you get the same answer either way. But whenever you're saying something like more than or decrease by something, it's whatever's at the end is what is actually happening to it. Like if I was to write this as 11 less than a number, they're talking about that number being less than 11. So you'd have to write it that way, okay? I know this just takes a lot of practice being able to do these. So don't get frustrated if you struggle with it at first. Just keep practicing. All right, let's do this one. The sum of 6 and a number. So since we're not using an addition thing like more than, sum means that we can write it in the order that it appears. So if it's a sum, that means addition. So we can just say, okay, 6 plus our a number, which is X. Okay? All right, here we go. The quotient of 8 and a number. So we're talking about division here because it says quotient. So we're going to say, okay, 8 divided by X. And make sure when you're typing these into your assignment, you're putting spaces in between. Like this would be X space plus space 11. And when you're doing division, you don't have to. You can just do 8 divided by X. You can use the little slant bar. You don't have to put spaces there. All right. The product of 2 and a number. Now, product means to multiply. So when you write this out, remember the easiest way to write multiplication when it comes to having a number and a variable is just write them next to each other. Ding. That represents the product of 2 and a number. All right, remember how I said sometimes with fractions, they'll be written of, like number of? All right, so 1/4 of a number, okay? So we have 1/4 of a number. That means we're going to have multiplication by a fourth. So we'd say, okay, 1/4 of x. I do believe you don't have any of those on your assignment because I've already written out the assignment and put it on Google Classroom, so no, you don't. All right, here we go. Let's keep going. Just practice, practice, practice. The difference between 5 and a number. So difference means to subtract. And we're saying the difference between, so we write it in the order that it's written. So 5 goes before the number, so 5 minus our x. There we go. All right, but let's talk about this one. 4 less than a number. So remember when we're using things like more than and less than, whatever's last actually is written first. So we'd say, okay, well then x minus 4. Alrighty. Let's see. 10 times a number. So times means multiply. And remember the easiest way to write multiplication is just write them next to each other. 10x. Again, you don't need to use spacing when it comes to multiplication and division on your phrases, but please use spacing when it comes to the addition and subtraction on your phrases when you're typing them into your assignment. Alright, and the last example we're going to do for example 1, so we have 7 divided by a number. So 7 divided by a number. 7 divided by x. All right. Now, let's practice writing mathematical sentences. So now we're going to add our equal or less than or greater than or less than or equal to or greater than or equal to into our mathematical question mark of a statement, okay? All right, here we go. We're going to translate the following sentences. So we have the sum of a number x and 12 is 16. All right, so we could say, okay, x, what's in 12, and what's happening in between them? Well, the sum, they're being added, is, which means to equal, 16. Ta-da! Remember, use spacing. Space, 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 space. Okay? All right, let's do another one. The quotient of 15 and a number x is less than 3. So the quotient of 15 and x is less than 3. Now remember, it's going to eat the smaller number. So less than means that this first part is the smaller bit. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Okay. The product of 5 and a number x is 25. So the product means to multiply. Remember, the easiest way to write multiplication is just to write them right next to each other. So we'd say 5x is 25. And the last example we're going to do today is 10 times a number x is greater than or equal to 50. All right, so 10 times x is greater than or equal to 50. Again, if this was something you needed to type into your answer on your Google form that's attached to on your Google Classroom, you would write, okay, well 10x space, parenthesis, greater than or equal to, close your parenthesis, 50. Okay, now on some of these you might type it out correctly and it might say it's wrong, and that's just because maybe a space is in a different spot than what I typed in for the correct answer, but it doesn't mean you're technically wrong. Because remember, you can see the correct answers after you submit the assignment. So you can go back and check, did I really get it wrong or not? Or was it just because the computer is super picky about spacing? So again, if you need any help, please feel free to text me, and I will be at work at North Hopkins. So as long as I'm not in a meeting or something, I'll be able to text you back, okay? Have a wonderful day.